Just what did happen between Meghan and her dad? Thomas Markle reveals all tonight at 10:35. Now our night with the HRHs begins with brand new Princess Diana. In her own words.
Part of Britain's rich history, whatever the weather. Santex proudly sponsors Great British Stories.
Whatever uncertainties the last few weeks may have brought, I want you to be certain our work together will continue.
When Princess Diana spoke, we all listened.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm immensely proud to be here in New York tonight.
From her first ever public speech,
I am extremely grateful to you, Lord Mayor, and to the City Council, and to the City of Cardiff, for granting me the freedom of the city.
to her very last.
The evil that men do lives after them.
Her words were full of drama.
Give me the time and space that has been lacking.
Had the power to educate.
HIV does not make people dangerous to know, so you can shake their hands and give them a hug. Heaven knows they need it.
And most powerfully, revealed who she really was.
The quest for perfection can leave the individual gasping for breath at every turn.
Her explosive panorama interview shook the monarchy to its core.
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
And she spoke from the heart like no other royal.
Isn't it normal to feel angry and want to change a situation that is hurting?
Diana used her words to change the world.
Virginia, I'm only trying to highlight a problem that's going on all around the world. That's all.
Let us demonstrate our humanity. I'm not a political figure. I am a humanitarian figure.
Diana, Princess of Wales, in her own words.
I was a separated wife to the Prince of Wales. I was a problem, full stop. Never happened before. What do we do with her?
Diana's most infamous and explosive words were those she gave to Panorama in November 1995. They shook the nation and the monarchy to its core. But how did it come to this? In the mid-90s, Princess Diana's glowing public persona made her the most popular member of the royal family. But behind closed doors, her life was falling apart, and she wanted the world to know. So within the walls of Kensington Palace, she did something unthinkable, and in secret. Even Diana's closest advisor, Patrick Jeffson, was in the dark until they shared a car journey.
I knew she was a bit uncomfortable. She said to me, Patrick, I've done an interview on the TV. And I said, good. I mean, if you want to know more from a royal person, particularly from Princess Diana, you act interested and friendly. So yes, tell me more. She said, it's for Panorama. And I thought, right, good. Although inside I was thinking, God. And she said to me, it's very good. It's very good, don't worry. I said, has it been taped? I mean, has it been done? Yes. Have you spoken to the lawyer? No. When's it going out? So, next week, I think. Does anybody else know about this? Does the Queen know about it? She said, no. And I said, well, we have to tell the Queen. She said, all right. And I picked up the phone in the car and asked the switchboard to put me through to the Queen's private office. I said, okay, speak to Charles Anson. So Charles was the first person I told. And Charles, of course, has got a great manner, a great poker delivery. And he said, good, yes,
The Greyhound was out of the trap and was going down the course at a fast rate by that point, So it was a question of limiting the damage, really. You know, waiting for the programme to air.
Charles and Diana had now been separated for nearly 3 years. The royal press team's work to present a harmonious picture of the couple was now under threat.
And on the drive to Broadmoor, I tried to sort of coax out of the princess more about this interview. What had she said? And she got more and more reluctant to speak about it, told me less and less, and eventually we kind of drove along in silence.
In the days before the broadcast, only Diana and a handful of BBC staff knew what the interview contained. Even Richard Kay, a journalist and one of her closest friends, didn't know what to expect.
She was incredibly buoyant, and I remember her frequently speaking to me in the course of those few days before the Panorama screening, saying it was going to be a great success, that she wouldn't be saying anything that I didn't know about. I said, yeah, that's okay, but what are you saying about things that other people might not know about? She said, no, it'll all be absolutely fine.
On November the 20th, 1995, nearly 23 million people tuned into the BBC programme to listen to Diana's words. From the opening minutes, it was clear that this would be an interview unlike any other.
Your Royal Highness, how prepared were you for the pressures that came with marrying into the royal family?
At the age of 19, you always think you're prepared for everything, and you think you have the knowledge of what's coming ahead. But although I was daunted at the prospect at the time, I felt I had the support of my husband-to-be.
Diana was speaking directly to the public, without any input from palace officials. No royal had ever spoken out like this before.
This was Diana stating her case for how she had been treated, how she wanted to be treated going forward.
This isn't a speech, it's not a statement, it's an interview. But it was an interview clearly designed, extremely well rehearsed, extremely choreographed in terms of the questions she was going to be asked.
I think she needed to open up to people. She wasn't good at keeping it all bottled up, and she had to somehow let the world know what she was thinking.
The words Diana chose had such power that they remain iconic to this day.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
I mean, this is the heir to the throne's wife, the mother of the heir to the throne after that, talking about infidelity right at the heart of the monarchy. This is ghastly stuff, and so she was being pretty honest about it. And the line of, well, there were 3 of us in the marriage, is, I have to say, a pretty good line. You know, that is a zinger.
But another line was even more memorable. Diana took inspiration from another woman who had connected emotionally to a global audience, her step-grandmother, Barbara Cartland. Her novel, Queen of Hearts, had been published a few years earlier.
I'd like to be a queen of people's hearts in people's hearts, but I don't see myself being queen of this country. I don't think many people would want me to be queen.
Diana's words won her the support of a global public.
I think it's probably very difficult for her to talk, but it's about time she did. She's had enough people voicing her opinions for her.
I think she's told her side of the story, and she's actually said it herself, rather than it being written down. It actually comes from her own mouth. So, you know, it's got to be the truth, hasn't it?
Diana was somebody who wore her heart on her sleeve, and we're not used to that in royal life. We're used to royals being very buttoned up and following protocol. Often the mantra within the walls of the palace is, what should we do next? Oh, what did we do last time? And I think Diana went in there and thought, I don't want to do things the way things have been done before. I want to do things my way.
Diana found a way to speak out. Throughout her life, for good and bad, she used words to enormous effect. Coming up, Diana reveals via secret tapes the true misery of her marriage to Charles.
I felt I was a lamb to the slaughter. I knew it and couldn't do anything about it.
And Diana's personable speeches make her a hit with the public.
I did actually learn something. Though you would never have known by my O-level results.
From the moment she stepped into the spotlight, the world was captivated by Diana's every word, even if she initially seemed speechless herself.
Between the two of you, can you say if you're likely to hear an announcement soon?
Lady Diana. Lady Diana.
We thought there was going to be an announcement on his 32nd birthday, but there wasn't, and he told reporters yesterday that it may be coming soon. Have you any comment to make about that?
Lady Diana.
No comment all out. Did you have a good weekend, though?
It's work now.
Okay.
As she gained confidence, people all over the world came to love her natural manner.
Does Prince William have a favourite toy?
Jamie, he loves his koala bear he's got. But he hasn't got anything particular. He just likes something with a bit of noise.
You've got everything, Dennis.
Mio marito e Dio siamo molto felici di essere qui. Work that out.
Salute.
Now could you translate?
My husband and I are very happy to be here.
She wasn't willing to be a princess who was seen and not heard, so she really did shake things up, and people appreciated her for it.
Through her words, Diana found a way to connect to people as no royal had done before.
Although I can only meet a very few of you today, I wanted just to be with you, to show that you are not forgotten, especially at Christmas time.
What you got was a very engaged human being, and that's what people related to. They could see it. People believed what they saw. They liked it. They wanted more of it.
Family life soon emerged as a favourite subject.
I must admit to having been rather puzzled when I heard of the Family of the Year award. I hadn't realised that family life was a competition.
I feel my role is supporting my husband whenever I can, and always being behind him, encouraging, and also, most important thing, being a mother and a wife. And that's what I try to achieve. Whether I do is another thing, but I did try.
These words in 1985 had painted the picture of a happy marriage. But just 5 years later, as Diana delivered this speech, both she and Charles had embarked on extramarital affairs.
Marriage offers stability. And maybe that is why nearly 7,000 couples a week begin new family lives of their own. Sadly, for many of these marriages, reality fails to live up to expectations.
By 1992, Diana's marriage to Charles was disintegrating in public. But in the acres of press coverage, one voice was missing: Diana's own.
I think Diana was a purveyor of the truth, and she felt that, her marriage was a sham, she was living a lie, and it was unbearable for her.
But revealing all in public wasn't an option for Diana. Over a period of months at Kensington Palace, she secretly recorded tapes and passed them via an intermediary to the journalist Andrew Morton. They revealed that from its very first days, the marriage had been deeply unhappy.
I just absolutely thought I was the luckiest girl in the world. He was going to look after me. Well, was I wrong on that assumption?
In June 1992, Diana, her true story, was published. Diana kept her involvement secret, even to those closest to her.
In my position as her private secretary, a lot of the time I was grateful for what you might call plausible deniability. So when she told me, I have never spoken to Andrew Morton, I thought, that's fine. She says she never spoke to Andrew Morton. That's my line. And of course it was true. She hadn't spoken to Andrew Morton. She'd spoken to Andrew Morton's tape recorder.
Diana's words revealed a wretched life behind palace walls that shocked all who read them.
My husband made me feel so inadequate in every possible way that each time I came up for air, he pushed me down again. I was so depressed. I was trying to cut my wrists with razor blades.
I mean, this now was effectively Diana's biography. This is a piece of history that we could rely upon.
The overwhelming feeling among ordinary people at the time was, oh my God, this is really bad stuff. Poor her. And she ended the year very much on the moral high ground. Because whatever else about the Morton book, the underlying message was, being married to Prince Charles isn't a lot of fun.
6 months after the book's publication, Charles and Diana separated.
It is announced from Buckingham Palace that, with regret, the Prince and Princess of Wales have decided to separate.
The separation shook the nation. Diana's role was left unclear, but she felt her work was far from done.
She did not think separating from Prince Charles in the domestic sense meant separating from the country and from the public, who still wanted her.
6 days after the separation, Diana spoke publicly about her dedication to her duties.
Your patron has never been happier to see you. Whatever uncertainties the last few weeks may have brought, I want you to be certain of this. Our work together will continue unchanged.
Throughout her royal career, Diana had developed a talent for public speaking.
When she first married Prince Charles, she was nicknamed Shy Di, and I think she lacked confidence, but she found her voice.
It was a skill she was happy to showcase as she revisited her old school in 1987.
My years at Westheath were certainly very happy ones indeed. I made many friends who I often see, and in spite of what Miss Rudge and my other teachers may have thought at the time, I did actually learn something. Though you would never have known by my O-level results.
She was fabulous at becoming emotionally engaged with the people she was talking to. She had a very quick wit. She was not academically very gifted, but she was the smartest person I ever knew.
Perhaps now, when future generations are handed out punishments for talking after lights, pillow fights, and illegal food, they will be told to run 6 times round this hall. It has to be preferable to the lacrosse pitch or weeding the garden, which I became a great expert at.
People used to question her intelligence. Diana was incredibly streetwise, and she had be the first to admit that she wasn't, the brightest person on earth. But she had a great sense of purpose, and she had a great deal of confidence.
In speaking to people, Diana found her calling, but breaking from the royals would change everything. Coming up, Diana's words leave her charities reeling.
Then as she sort of got further and further into it, people just sort of looking around the table, just all sort of looking at each other and thinking, oh my goodness, oh my goodness.
And Diana tells the world of her new priorities.
My first priority will continue to be our children, William and Harry.
After marrying into the royal family, Diana faced a major challenge, her first public speech.
I am extremely grateful to you, Lord Mayor, and to the City Council and to the City of Cardiff for granting me the freedom of the city.
With time, Diana's speech-making grew in confidence. In 1989, she spoke at a conference about drink, drug, and mental health problems.
Before going any further, I should make it clear that what I have to say is not the result of any special expertise. But in my time as patron, I have seen at first hand some of the work undertaken by Turning Point around the country, and the conclusions I have drawn are perhaps those any layman might reach given a similar opportunity.
The point about royal speeches, I thought, was that this is not an opportunity for the royal person to display their extraordinary knowledge and wisdom and intelligence. It was an opportunity for the royal speaker representing a charity, giving the expected few words at a national event.
But no senior royal had ever let the public into their private lives as Diana had done with the Andrew Morton book. Now, Diana's public speeches became personal.
As their world closes in on them, their self-esteem evaporates into a haze of loneliness and desperation as they retreat further and further from those who could help them.
Diana gave this speech in June 1993. She was now free from her unhappy marriage, but facing an uncertain future.
She's going through personal trauma, but at the same time, she's at her most powerful because she's found her voice and she's found independence from the firm that she's married into.
More often than not, they retreat into their own private hell behind closed doors.
By using clever speechwriting techniques, Diana gave her words even more power.
Isn't it normal not to be able to cope all the time? Isn't it normal for women as well as men to feel frustrated with life?
You know, one of the things you do when you're writing a speech, one of the things to think about, and this technique goes back to the ancient Greeks, rhetoric and so on, is you might pose a question, but you might pose 3 questions, and you might pose 3 questions which have the same word in it. Isn't it normal to do this? Isn't it normal to do that? You know, I have a dream, I have a dream, So repetition, questions help give a speech structure in the form of the logic of the argument.
Isn't it normal to feel angry and want to change a situation that is hurting?
But underlying the words, there's the subtext of not so subtext of, me and my life. How do I become normal? Isn't it normal for me with all this pressure and maybe 1 or 2 things going on in the royal family? Isn't it normal for me to be angry?
Perhaps the most shocking personal struggle Diana had revealed via Andrew Morton was her eating disorder.
I thought my bulimia was secret, but quite a few people in the house recognised it was going on, though nobody mentioned it. They all thought it was quite amusing that I ate so much but never put any weight on.
In April 1993, Diana addressed a conference about this subject.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have it on very good authority that the quest for perfection our society demands can leave the individual gasping for breath at every turn. This pressure inevitably extends into the way we look.
Mental health wasn't a national conversation in those days, so to talk about conditions like bulimia in public with everybody in the audience knowing that you were relating it to yourself, I think was a hugely brave and significant step.
Eating disorders, whether it be anorexia or bulimia, show how an individual can turn the nourishment of the body into a painful attack on themselves. And they have, at their core, a far deeper problem than mere vanity.
There, she really was speaking from personal experience, and that was a very brave and very helpful speech. People with eating disorders, those treating them, were unanimous in saying how valuable it was.
But bearing her soul in public led to increasing harassment from the British press, who wanted more.
looking back on it, you might think maybe she just would have done better to put a little bit more distance, to slow down, to try consciously to slow down and put a little bit less of this into it, to make it actually less about her, because the temptation to make it about her was so overwhelming, and yet maybe it was very, very dangerous in the end.
So in December 1993, in an attempt to diminish press interest, Diana took action. As she arrived at a charity lunch, the audience were expecting her to talk about head injuries. But Diana had other plans.
I first met Princess Diana in 1992. Prince William got hit over the head with a golf club when he was at Ludgrove Prep and had a head injury, and so was rushed to hospital, and the contact with Princess Diana started from there. To be honest, on that day, as far as I was concerned, that was just a normal Headway lunch. I mean, whenever Diana spoke, everybody would stop, everybody's listening. She quite often would crack the odd joke, you know, she had quite a good sense of humour. So yeah, she would be the focus of that room.
Diana took her seat on the podium and awaited her turn to address the audience.
And she just sat there, but she wasn't as animated as she's been in the past. So if she sat with people, she's quite often chatting to whoever's either side. Wasn't quite like that day. So there was obviously something on her mind, and she knew what was coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to be here with you, sharing in your successes of the past year.
You know, it's a great pleasure to be at Headway again. Just expected it to be that sort of a speech, which was normally produced for her anyway, and clearly that wasn't what she had.
At the end of this year, when I've completed my diary of official engagements, I will be reducing the extent of the public life I've led so far.
Diana's words shocked all who heard them.
As she sort of got further and further into it, people just sort of looking around the table at each other and thinking, oh my goodness, oh my goodness.
I hope you can find it in your hearts to understand and to give me the time and space that has been lacking in recent years.
With these words, Diana had just stepped away from many public duties. It was a decision that left her conflicted.
I knew this 2 or 3 months beforehand when she said, I want to make this speech, I want to take a step back. And I thought, no, you don't. You love this job. This is how you measure your worth, not just as a princess, but as a human being. You take that away, what have you got? So I think for her, the priority was not what she said, so much as the act of saying it.
Diana had originally planned an even more dramatic speech.
In the several weeks that were to elapse before she was due to give the speech, I was able to persuade her to take out many of its more sort of suicidal elements that I knew that once she had made her speech, she would in due course want to return to some form of structured royal life. And so my priority was to make sure she didn't shut any doors on that.
Now that Diana had stepped away from the spotlight, she was free to focus on what she saw as her most important role, as a mother to William and Harry.
If we can do a proper job of giving our children the affection which nature demands, I believe it will help enormously. If we all play our part in making our children feel valued, the result will be tremendous.
Parenthood was a recurring theme across Diana's public speeches, and the words she used set her apart from any other royal.
There are potential huggers in every household.
Somebody from the most conservative, straight-laced institution in the country, by tradition, the royal family, to be talking about spontaneity and expressing affection in a tactile way was quite surprising and rather welcome and rather delightful, and because she lived it out in her own life, people knew that it was genuine, that it was her.
Diana was a new kind of royal parent, tactile and affectionate, as the words she shared with Morton reveal.
I hug my children to death and get into bed with them at night. I always feed them love and affection. That's so important.
As Diana's own life became more difficult after a separation, she became more determined to give her children a stable family life.
My first priority will continue to be our children, William and Harry, who deserve as much love and care and attention as I am able to give, as well as an appreciation of the tradition into which they were born.
By December 1994, relations between Diana and the royal family had hit an all-time low. After 2 years of separation, Charles had now come clean about his relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles, and the nation assumed a divorce was imminent.
The Prince and Princess of Wales attempted to dampen speculation that they have already agreed to divorce next year.
Diana continued to throw herself into the reduced number of charities she supported, including AIDS and HIV.
I bet this is a first. It's wonderful to be in the same building, isn't it?
Yes, it makes a lot of makes all the difference in the world. Plus, you get known and.
With a Diana shirt that doesn't match, I can understand that.
Oh, I thought it did. No, I thought it did. You haven't seen the socks yet. No, they certainly don't go.
Tinted.
Yes.
It is tinted.
It is, yes.
Christmas was just weeks away, and Diana was looking forward to spending time with William and Harry. But this also meant she'd be spending time with Charles and the royal family.
Diana would have spent Christmas with the royal family in 1994 because she definitely wanted to keep this sense of the unit going and the tradition, and she was really above all concerned with how they would feel, the boys.
But Diana had never felt comfortable at Sandringham. Her words to Andrew Morton revealed that she'd always felt like an outsider at the royal family Christmas, describing it as
terrifying and so disappointing. No boisterous behaviour, lots of tension, silly behaviour, silly jokes that outsiders would find odd, but insiders understood.
For 3 years after her separation, even as her relationship with the royal family turned sour, Diana continued to go to Sandringham for Christmas.
She was not welcome at Sandringham. You know, I remember her telling me that the first occasion she went, the Queen Mother had sort of looked at her and raised an eyebrow and said, "I didn't think we'd see you again." And, you know, and there she was. And under that kind of pressure, you have to be quite a tough character. And I think she found it extremely hard, but she took a deep breath and she got through it.
There was clearly no love lost between Diana, her ex-husband, and her ex-in-laws. However, Diana was about to find love elsewhere. Coming up, Diana bitterly regrets using her Panorama interview to attack Prince Charles.
I would think that the top job, as I call it, would bring enormous limitations to him.
And Diana's newfound interest in the human heart.
Though we have just one heart, most of us can be given a second chance.
Hides her new love with a heart surgeon.
I found my peace. He has given me all the things I need.
In 1995, Diana returned to life in the spotlight with a series of successful overseas trips.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm immensely proud to be here in New York tonight with you all.
Now separated from Charles for 3 years, she was carving out her own role.
Now she could be an independent princess. She could be her own new brand, if you like. So there was a great feeling of freedom.
In Japan, she addressed the audience in their native language.
Niho no minasama konnichiwa. Matawai dekte urishiku omoimasu. Konomai niho nikite kara. Yonenhan tachimasu.
Which apparently means I'm delighted to be here in Japanese.
In New York, she outshone supermodels at the country's biggest fashion awards and used her speech to honor a British fashion legend.
To be giving this award to a lady from my own country, who is also a dear friend and whose talent and courage has been an inspiration to us all. Ladies and gentlemen, Liz Tilberis.
Buoyed by her success on a global stage, when journalist Martin Bashir approached Diana to speak directly to the public via Panorama, she couldn't resist.
Well, I think Diana's anticipation was that this was her opportunity to set the record straight. However, that interview also marks the moment, really, where Diana went rogue.
The interview won Diana public support, but it was to change her own life forever and leave her with deep regrets. She'd filmed the interview in secret. It was a calculated act of revenge, littered with personal attacks on Charles and the rest of the royal family.
This was clearly a rehearsed and polished performance. I think she put a lot of thought into it. I mean, whether she was coached, she told me she wasn't coached at all. But I suspect that there was a good deal of rehearsal.
When you say you were never given any credit, what do you mean?
Well, anything good I ever did, nobody ever said a thing. Never said, well done, or was it okay? But if I tripped up, which invariably I did, because I was new at the game, a ton of bricks came down on me.
It's a bit like someone serving up easy lobs at the net for her to belt them. And she belted them.
In the wake of the broadcast, many began to question who had influenced Diana to speak out in this way.
I worked out pretty soon that she'd been got at. You know, people had managed to reach her and persuade her to trust them and not me. I think that some pretty underhand methods were used.
Martin Bashir's colleagues alleged that he had won Diana's trust by showing her fake documents that proved that she was being spied upon. A BBC inquiry confirmed that Bashir had asked a graphic artist to create false bank statements, but cleared him of wrongdoing.
A lot of people have talked darkly about Bashir and how he pulled off this remarkable scoop. But I think one thing we tend to forget is that Diana really wanted to do it. And even if she was gulled by certain people, I don't think it really mattered because it was what she wanted to do.
Diana had carefully chosen her words to have maximum impact. They even included revelations about her own extramarital affair.
Did your relationship go beyond a close friendship?
Yes, it did. Yes.
Were you unfaithful?
Yes, I adored him. Yes, I was in love with him. But I was very let down.
Afterwards, she said to me, I ended up legitimizing James Hewitt. Beforehand, there was always the element of doubt. Nobody knew for certain I'd been involved with him because I'd never said so. And now there were no doubts. She had been. She had betrayed her marriage vows in much the same way as the Prince of Wales had betrayed his.
I suppose most people watching at the time couldn't quite believe what they were hearing. Yes, it's behaviour that's echoed around the land, and not just in Britain but beyond, but I think because they were so high profile at the time, it was quite shocking.
She saved her most savage words for her ex-husband.
Because I know the character, I would think that the top job, as I call it, would bring enormous limitations to him. And I don't know whether he could adapt to that.
She told me later that she did regret saying that. She should not really have questioned his ability, willingness to be king.
You know, her reputation is going to carry on being linked to the royal family. She has an interest in their success. She has an interest in Charles being a good king. She has an interest in her son becoming king and being a wonderful king. So, you know, you don't want to burn those bridges, it seems to me, in quite the way she did. There were one or two punches or phrases which were somehow below the belt.
Diana's words were the nail in the coffin for her broken marriage. Less than a month later, the Queen wrote to Charles and Diana, instructing them to divorce.
Part of the Queen's concern is the continuing effect on Prince Harry and Prince William of their parents' marital troubles, which were brought out so starkly and so publicly in the Princess's Panorama TV interview.
Ironically, in the interview that was to cut her off from her marriage and the royal family for good, Diana talked about her hopes to stay within it.
I sit here with hope because there's a future ahead. A future for my husband, a future for myself, and a future for the monarchy.
She realized that she had gone too far, and it had done her no good. It was poignant, it was painful, and there was, to me, a great sense of loss. Inevitably, after Panorama, there was no way back.
Jephson resigned soon after.
My objection was not to the fact that she had done it. I felt her message, the poor little me message, was absolutely the wrong one. I felt that it was an opportunity to demonstrate her strength and what a big-hearted person she was. And that really decided, in my own mind, that's why I had to resign.
Diana was now alone, without her closest advisor and facing the consequences of her words. She confided in journalist Jenny Bond.
Diana and I met at the palace a few times after I wrote to her, actually, and I said, this is ridiculous. I don't know what to believe when I read all this stuff in the papers. I don't know whether it's true or not. Can't we just meet as two women over a cup of coffee, two mums? She was very happy to talk about extremely personal matters, but it was in confidence, infuriatingly. At the end of our conversations, she would always say, Jenny, this is just between you and me and these four walls.
Diana now opened up about the biggest challenge she had faced in her royal career: her divorce.
Diana was pretty unsettled with the divorce. She didn't want the divorce. She told me it's not something I want. I think she felt somehow they could continue as separated but partners in that they were parents to the two boys. And I think she really did try to make it work, or want it to work anyway.
Even years later, Diana's words revealed her regrets over her failed marriage. She told The New Yorker in 1997.
We would have been the best team in the world. I could shake hands till the cows come home, and Charles could make serious speeches, but it was not to be.
On the day the divorce was finalized, Diana put on a brave face in public.
She found the day of the divorce extremely hard. She did go out, she was seen in public, and she was hurting badly. I mean, she told me that it was an extremely difficult day, and she went home and burst into tears.
At home that day, Diana wrote to her butler, Paul Burrell. Her words revealed raw emotion.
It has been a turbulent 15 years, having to face the envy, jealousy and hatred from Charles's friends and family. They have so misunderstood me, and that has been painful and brought enormous heartache.
But as Diana faced the future, she was ready to pour this heartache into her speeches. She now threw herself into the causes that meant most to her, giving a voice to vulnerable people.
I think being vulnerable meant she could recognise vulnerability in others and relate to it.
The age of homeless youngsters is coming down. Children as young as 11 have called on Centrepoint this year. Some have been running from physical and emotional violence, some from sexual abuse.
She felt an affinity with people who were excluded. She said to me, Patrick, I can do it because I'm one of them. She felt she was excluded, shut out.
I think we all know that there are still some who suffer in secret, finding it difficult to share the fact that they have contracted the disease. I believe we agree that there is still a need for material support so that the work of caring for those who are HIV may go forward.
You know, one of the old school courtiers would say to me, "Patrick, no wonder your princess is so unhappy. Look at the things she's doing. Why doesn't she do some nice things like animal charities?" She said to me, "Patrick, we'll do animal charities when we run out of people charities."
As a royal, Diana had to steer away from political issues. But now she was free to be a fully fledged campaigner.
By the point where she became the most outspoken, she knew there was no chance of her being queen. And therefore that, funny enough, freed her up to really be herself.
It's always been my concern to touch people with leprosy, trying to show in a simple action that they are not reviled, nor are we repulsed.
I think for a royal to say that she would happily embrace anyone with leprosy in the same way as touching somebody with AIDS was significant. She was trying to set an example. She didn't want people to be marginalised. The best description of Diana is that she was the people's princess, in the sense that she put people first.
In 1996, Diana found a surprising new interest: heart surgery. Diana attended an operation with a camera crew in tow.
There was Diana in full makeup, mascara and earrings, and a sort of surgical cap, watching an operation.
She'd said she wanted to be a queen of people's hearts. Now the workings of the heart began to feature in Diana's public speeches.
It goes without saying that the heart is a crucial organ. We have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 arms and 2 legs, but we have just 1 heart. But the wonderful thing about the Brompton Hospital is that though we have just 1 heart, most of us can be given a second chance.
I was sitting in her lounge, her sitting room in Kensington Palace. She was saying how she loved to watch operations, and she loved to go to the Brompton and watch the heart operations that are going on. She's the heart, Jenny. It's so important, isn't it, the heart?
Diana also confided in Jenny about matters of her own heart and her fears of ever finding a new partner.
I said to her, Diana, you are going to have men beating a path to your door. And she said, I won't. Who would take me with all the baggage I come with?
Diana's words to the New Yorker suggested that she'd given up the dream of ever finding love again.
Anyone who takes me out to dinner has to accept the fact that their business will be raked over in the papers. Photographers will go through their dustbins. I think I am safer alone.
But in fact, the reason Diana was talking so much about hearts was that she had had her own stolen by a heart surgeon called Hasnat Khan. In private, Diana confided to a friend,
I found my peace. He has given me all the things I need.
She professed to be deeply in love with him, and she wanted to sort of envelop him. She was convinced that they could go and live somewhere, you know, South Africa or Australia, and that he could carry on with his medicine and she could just be his wife.
With her new romance a closely guarded secret, Diana headed off to Australia.
Informality was the order of the day, and Princess Diana was in her element.
There's no flags, there's no royal rubbish, there's no mention of the Queen, it's all Diana, and it's beautiful.
In Sydney, she visited the very hospital Hasnat Khan had trained in. And the gala ball that was the focal point of the trip was in honor of Khan's mentor, heart transplant pioneer Victor Chang.
Tonight, we give heartfelt thanks that a good man, Dr. Victor Chang, did a great deal, and of that, we can all be thankful as we look forward to the future.
However, the romance with Khan was to be short-lived. Back in Britain, the press intrusion continued to grow, proving too much for a young relationship.
Certainly, she considered marriage. I don't think Hasnat Khan considered marriage because he could see the enormous complications marrying the Princess of Wales would bring to his life.
Every man she met, and would have met if she hadn't died, would have had to consider very much if they wanted to live in that goldfish bowl. And so she was finding it very hard to imagine how she would meet someone who would want to settle down with her.
Diana's own words in her Panorama interview revealed that she had a coping mechanism: her work.
You know, people think that at the end of the day, a man is the only answer. Actually, a fulfilling job is better for me.
Coming up, Diana uses pictures to tell 1,000 words as she launches her new image, and successfully uses the power of her words to bring about change in a new cause: landmines.
By visiting Angola, we shall gain an understanding of the plight of the victims of landmines.
Firing.
Diana was the most outspoken royal of her day. But when words wouldn't suffice, she learned to deliver strong messages through her image. On the night that Charles admitted to adultery on national television, Diana stepped out in what would become known as the revenge dress.
This is where Diana was very savvy, and she thought, well, you know, I've got to wear something absolutely stunning. She just looked a knockout. So the pictures the next day really were of Diana at the Serpentine Gallery and not of Prince Charles. That was her only armour, it was her only battle plan, was that she was going to look more gorgeous than anyone else.
In the spring of 1997, Diana made another bold statement through fashion. She decided to rid herself of the gowns that had defined her as a royal princess.
Well, they were all hanging in wardrobes in Kensington Palace. It was bulging with dresses. And each one had a personal memory for Diana, obviously. Not all of them happy.
Well, the idea of auctioning the dresses came from William, and she had told me so herself, and she was so proud of him for coming up with that idea.
Diana's words in an interview at the time revealed that this was an important turning point in her journey towards a happier future.
I am extremely happy that others can now share the joy that I had wearing them. Life has moved into new and exciting areas. Clothes are not as essential to my life as they used to be.
She didn't need those big ball gowns anymore. Here she is in a great, very slender, beautifully embroidered dress, looking suntanned and beautiful and full of confidence. She was excited about it. She definitely was.
As she arrived for a pre-auction party in New York, the press were whipped up into a frenzy.
We can't get the picture, he's in the way!
On the 25th of June, 1997, over 1,000 potential bidders crowded into the sales room.
This unprecedented...
There had never been a sale quite like it, and no one had dared speculate how much this American audience would spend.
At 70,000.
As the final gavel fell, £3.5 million, the equivalent of nearly £6.5 million in today's money, had been raised for charity.
She told me personally, she said, I get great satisfaction, a kick out of the fact that I can raise $1 million for charity in one night. She knew she was big news and she was good value.
Having shed her past, Diana was keen to create a new image. She collaborated with Mario Testino on the most relaxed and intimate photo shoot of her life. Her words summed up her mindset.
I feel I belong to the 20th century now, I really do. I'm doing modern things and I'm trying to lead a modern life. And I'm a single woman, and that's how I want to look.
She just looked so incredibly happy and confident about her future that it seemed to hold so much promise.
Diana's personal approach and kind words to the sick and deprived won her global respect. In 1995, she was named Humanitarian of the Year.
Today is the day of compassion. let's not wait to be prompted, but let us go out tonight, tomorrow, and the days that follow, and let us demonstrate our humanity.
Diana had a mission to help people, to help the suffering, to make a difference in terms of awareness, to be there for people who needed her.
HIV does not make people dangerous to know, so you can shake their hands and give them a hug. Heaven knows they need it.
She'd sort of grown out of the royal family, quite frankly, and she'd become too big for them. And she was on the path to something completely new and completely different.
Now free from the royal family, Diana no longer needed to run her scripts and campaign plans past courtiers.
This was made clear to us as ambassadors. If she turns up, she is a private citizen. She can say whatever she likes. She owns her words. It's none of your business. Your job is simply to look after her security as the mother to the heir to the throne. That's all you have to do. You are literally instructed not to help her with her speeches because they're her speeches.
Diana, now free to do and say as she pleased, headed out on her final, most controversial campaign.
On a scheduled flight, the most high-profile Red Cross volunteer.
By visiting Angola, we shall gain an understanding of the plight of the victims of landmines. It is my sincere hope that by working together in the next few days, we shall focus world attention on this vital, but until now largely neglected, issue.
I mean, I remember when we landed at Huambo, there were wrecked planes and tanks by the runway. And I was a bit nervous. I mean, you couldn't walk around at Luanda without policemen stopping you and asking you for money. There was no taxi service. We used to leave in the morning, we used to in the bus, and the first thing we'd do was pick up an armed policeman to sit in the front of the bus with us. So it was very dangerous part of the world.
Now Diana was determined to be more than an empty figurehead, as her words to a friend revealed.
If I'm going to talk on behalf of any cause, I want to go and see the problem for myself and learn about it.
Within the treatment, do you cope with the psychological side of it as well?
You felt that she had read up her brief, she knew what she was looking at, what sort of questions she should ask. This was the start of what she hoped would be her new life going forward, doing something slightly different which didn't involve cutting ribbons and cupping the faces of little children.
Diana knew the images that would best further her cause. She risked her own safety to get them.
Certainly up till then, we'd never seen a member of the royal family, walking through a landmine field. It was very dramatic, and to this day, those pictures of Diana wearing the Halo Trust bib and the helmet and setting off a landmine. It's an iconic image.
Firing up, 3 seconds. Firing.
But Diana was about to discover the downside of her lack of royal status. She was vulnerable to attack. Back in Britain, a political storm was brewing, and Diana was at the centre. Coming up, Diana takes control of the world's press.
I would have thought that was the most important question out of the two. I'd go for that one.
And we hear the last words Diana ever delivered in public.
For the mine is a stealthy killer.
Diana, the most talked about, written about, and pursued woman in the world, was successfully reinventing herself after her divorce from Prince Charles. Her latest cause, landmines, had led her to Angola. Her trip had been going well, until a political storm erupted back in the UK.
We've been in Angola a couple of days, and the phone went. Jen, there's a massive news story.
Junior Cabinet Minister Lord Howe had accused Diana of siding with Labour policy on landmines and had called her a loose cannon.
It was a huge news story back home, and I knew that I had to challenge her about it. I told my cameraman, get ready, get ready, get ready. Okay, all right, now. I stuck my microphone in her face and said, you've been criticised, what have you got to say?
Well, Jenny, I'm only trying to highlight a problem that's going on all around the world. That's all.
It's been said, though, that you're aligning yourself with Labour policy. Do you think that's wise?
Labour? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what
We
you're
have really to keep the
Fine,
programme
fine,
going.
thank you very much.
Diana had never before been directly questioned by the press.
We were a lot more deferential then, and there was a sort of a barrier between us and the royals, and we tended to observe all the niceties. You didn't shout out at members of the royal family. But somehow Diana had broken the mold, and she was inviting us, the world, to see her in a different light.
A couple of hours later, we were at a lunch in a shack in the middle of nowhere, and I thought, oh, she's so cross with me, she's so annoyed, and she was over the other side of the room. But suddenly she came across and she said, Jenny, I understand now, and it's okay. By the way, I told you not to wear yellow because it doesn't suit you. You should wear red. She was always funny like that.
But Diana found it harder to forgive those who had criticised her mission.
I mean, she genuinely was bemused and hurt as to why a government minister should criticise her. So was I. I mean, there she was doing a fantastic job highlighting a real live issue in Angola, trying to make a difference, and she did. It wasn't political. She wasn't a loose cannon. She didn't do anything wrong. I really don't know what business he had criticising her.
Diana was determined to put her side of the story across. At the final press conference, she took control.
Yeah, can we ask you to ask you that question about the political role?
I would have thought that was the most important question out of the two. I'd go for that one. No, I mean the one saying I'm not a political figure.
Yes, exactly.
Were you surprised at the political furore that developed as a result of your visit to Angola?
I saw it merely as a distraction because I'm not a political figure. I am a humanitarian figure, and always have been and always will be.
The trip would bring worldwide support for a landmine ban. And, as Diana revealed in her own words, she had finally found the role she'd been searching for.
I knew the statistics, but putting a face to those figures brought the reality home to me. Like when I met Sandra, the 13-year-old girl, 2 days ago who had lost her leg. I've had hands-on experiences before, but this working trip has been slightly different. I've had more contact with people, and there's been less formalities. It's the type of program I've been looking for some time, and I'm very happy to have done and achieved what we have.
On returning home, Diana continued her campaign.
And this brings me to one of the main conclusions I reached after my visit. Even if the world decided tomorrow to ban these weapons, this terrible legacy of mines already in the earth would continue to plague the poor nations of the globe. And so it seems to me there rests a certain obligation upon the rest of us.
I was very pleased to see her find her feet, and that trip to Angola made me realise that, and I made her realise, I think, that she still had pulling power, a lot of pulling power. She still could use her position, even outside the royal family, to change things and to influence issues and people in a way that made her feel very valuable, and I think she would, and I think that's how she would have continued.
Diana's words would have a huge impact. By the end of 1997, an international treaty banning anti-personnel mines was signed. Tragically, she never lived to witness it. In October 1981, Diana had nervously delivered her first public speech.
It is a very great pleasure for me to come to Wales and to its capital, Cardiff. I look forward to returning many times in the future. And also, I'd like to just add how proud I am to be princess in such a wonderful place.
16 years later, she commanded a room full of Washington's political elite. But as she took to the stage, no one present could have possibly imagined that this would be the last time Diana would ever speak in public.
I visited some of the mine victims who had survived and saw their injuries. Injuries too awful to describe. So permit me not to tell you exactly what I saw, but suffice to say that when you look at the mangled bodies of some of the children caught by these mines, you can only marvel at their survival. For the mine is a stealthy killer. Long after conflict is ended, its innocent victims die or are maimed in countries of which we hear little. The evil that men do lives after them.
Diana was once asked what epitaph she would like for her gravestone. She answered,
"A great hope, crushed in its infancy."
Diana's own hopes had been crushed, but the impact of her work and words lives on.
I think Diana's words live on because at the heart of them, she wasn't afraid of speaking her mind, and she spoke from the heart, and that's when words are at their most powerful. That's why we remember people, because they insist on being themselves and telling us what they really think.
As I've said before, hugging has no harmful side effects.
I miss her laugh, I miss her smile, her giggling. She was a very bright person to be around.
I miss her sense of vulnerability. I mean, she could never really take seriously her fame. You know, she was someone who was good fun to be around. Yeah, I miss that.
In life, Diana was more outspoken than any royal that had come before her. And in death, she would not be silenced. At Diana's final resting place, her words live on, inscribed in stone.
Nothing brings me more happiness than trying to help the most vulnerable people in society. It is a goal and an essential part of my life, a kind of destiny. Whoever is in distress can call on me. I will come running, wherever they are.
The royals in the spotlight next Saturday are Fergie and Andrew, the Duke and Duchess of Disaster. Don't miss the scandals, new at 9:15. Next tonight, revealing all about his relationship with his daughter Meghan, Thomas Markle speaks out.